Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Cash That. This is your host, Joe Dellera. We have the very first live stream episode of the Cash That podcast, and it's going to be a blast for you guys. For those of you that don't know, we have joined the Huddle. So the Huddle is a dub club, and it's got some of the absolute best cappers in the space that cover literally everything. And you honestly know a lot of them. And obviously we have producer Corey, who is finally back. He's hitched, and it's gonna be an absolute blast. I was like, Corey, I know you've been missing. I need you to hit the ground running. We have an absolutely chaotic show in terms of the fact that we're trying to do this live. So it's going to be a lot of fun. But I did want to introduce everybody that's in the huddle because I think it's super important for you guys to know who you're getting these plays for, know who's in this service, and what exactly we are, what exactly we stand for, and how we're doing and getting all this information out. So obviously, you guys know Matty Chucks. Matty Chucks is a longtime recurring guest of the program here. We've got Matty Chucks. We have Lord Penguin, who you guys have also seen. They just don't have webcams down in Antarctica, so it's a little bit more difficult for us to get him here. But we do have the
Way to
audio
just give away
file.
his location.
Oh fuck! I'm
Yeah, that's
doxing him.
crazy.
I'm doxing him. It's crazy.
Yeah, literally.
And
Suing
then
you.
and then we have that guy Betts. And so it's going to be a lot of fun here. And I just wanted everybody to have the opportunity to introduce themselves, say a little bit about themselves. But for those of you that don't know, the best part about the huddle is that there's a ton of transparency, all the plays. What you're really paying for is you're paying for that early access, because you guys know, like with the player props, especially, which we all literally crush on, they just get torched. Like the lines go out there, they get torched. By paying for this, you're getting into the Dub Club. It's free until September 8th. After that, $29.99, $30 a month, right? And the biggest thing is that it's going to give you the opportunity to get the plays that we're giving out at the lines that we're betting them, and that is invaluable. So, like, you're going to make that back literally in one fucking NBA prop that we're going to give out, or one NFL prop with the line either moving like 10 yards, 15 yards, multiple points, or like from plus 100 to minus 130. So that, like, if you bet $100, that's your difference, if you got it earlier versus you getting it late. So it's a huge difference, and that's why I wanted to align with all of these guys. So Matty Chucks, I'm going to start it with you since everybody kind of knows you a little bit already, but give yourself a little intro. Tell the people what you're about.
Guys, I think it's my fourth or fifth show at this time. Producer Corey can probably backtrack that. Always a pleasure to be on. Also known as Joe Dellera's #1 fan. I actually think I was on. The last time I was on was the time you hit that triple double lotto, and I didn't bet it, and we literally were talking about it beforehand, so that sucked.
That was a crazy day.
Hopefully that doesn't happen again. I think
electric.
I took credit for you gaining some followers because I think you got a big bump, and I was like, obviously it's because of the podcast I was on.
That was
Nothing else really happened, but no, I'm glad to be here. I'm excited for us all to be teaming up. I always had a thought deep down that we'd team up in some capacity down the line. I think this is the best way to do it, especially with Penguin and that guy Betts as a new addition as well. We cover a lot of sports, all have similar styles, no spammy, ridiculous stuff, just kind of, simple bets, straight bets, a couple parlays that you can sweat out with the boys, and overall good vibes. So I'm excited to be here. And you guys have heard enough of my voice, so I'll pass the baton to the next.
All right. Well, we'll pass it on to Lord Penguin real quick and go in order, and then save the new guy for last, the other new guy for last, and that guy Betts.
Yeah, also hyped to be here. I was on what, Joe? I think just one time.
Yeah,
I
like
think
OG. Like, yeah, you were early.
like 2 years ago or something. I remember it was right before the March Madness tournament, and we were talking about doing potential capper tournaments.
Yeah.
And it never panned out, but I still love the idea. And you never know. You never know. It might come back. We'll see.
It's just a lot of fun. So I'm glad that you were able to make it back here. Glad that we were able to do this, because I feel like it's always hard to get a lot of people in the same room together, let alone like the same live stream. But for the guys for the people that haven't listened, or that maybe only listened to the one time that you were on, or haven't, like, or new listeners to the podcast, new listeners or new viewers of you, what's your favorite thing to cap? What's your sports that you feel like you're most comfortable with, and what can we expect from you for NFL this year?
NFL is going to be nuts. I'm very excited for it. NFL is definitely my favorite because it's the one where I hit the craziest lotto on. and it was like plus 61,000, not 6,100. It was a
It's
61,000.
ridiculous.
It was when I think the Bills played the Jets in like a blizzard, and I basically just took the under for every single wide receiver, and no one got more than like 10 yards.
That's fucking
So
awesome.
it is the whole, like, everybody hit. It was great. Yeah, so definitely hype for NFL. I've been getting really into soccer this summer. It's been a lot of fun. I like trying random stuff, like I have my core sports, which I have done well in the past few years, but then I also like dabbling with similar processes. So, yeah, definitely hype for NFL, NBA.
Yeah, it's gonna
Got
be
the U.S. Open today.
it's gonna be a fucking
Yeah.
blast. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, and I'm also hyped that you guys are in the huddle now. Not only are we given that early access, but definitely want to shout out the arbitrage bot inside the huddle. The thing's gonna go insane once these other sports start. It's kind of limited options right now just because it's MLB, but once we get NBA cooking, NFL cooking, the thing is just gonna basically print money. I'm very excited about it.
No, that's a great tool. And I mean, that's a way to just kind of build your bankroll a little bit. Obviously, you have to weigh exactly how much you're betting, how you're using it. But that's a way, like, if you're like, hey, like I could use a little sandwich for lunch today. Just you can make it with the arbitrage bot. It's fucking awesome. So you can literally make your subscription just from that bot alone. But I did want to turn to that guy Betts. I know you said this is your podcast debut today. We've got you live from just not where I'm at, not New Jersey. But it is awesome to have you on. I know you've been putting out a lot of baseball plays, and you were stoked to start putting out some NFL plays. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself, where you've been working, and a little bit about your thought process and how you're capping, and just like the transparency that led to that.
Yeah, sounds great. And thanks for having me on.
Yeah, dude.
It's kind of funny. It's the first time I've done a podcast like this. It's the first time I've had that feeling of a round table waiting for my name to be called. It kind of brought me back to like a high school classroom. Like, tell me one thing you did over the summer and your name. It's real funny.
We use the Socratic method here.
I know. I feel like
The
I'm
only
like
one
nervous.
You did this summer.
But no, I specialize in NBA, MLB, NFL. I'm from Michigan. I'm the only guy in the huddle who's not from the Jersey area, so I'm the outcast, but so I got to hold it down for my Michigan folk, and really stoked for NFL. Incredibly excited. I mean, just the thought of watching Scott Hansen in 4 days just puts chills up my spine. I mean, it's
I
going
know.
to be a movie. I'm so excited.
I feel like I was
gross.
getting like a semi watching him on Gold Zone, because I was like, I feel like I'm getting there, like I'm edging
It's
for the NFL season.
it's actually like it's sickening. I'll wake up in the middle of the night and just like look at the hours, how many hours and days until NFL season Sunday. It's bad.
Yeah,
Like the meme of like the girl, he must be thinking about other girls. It's like, no, I'm thinking about Scott Hansen. I'm thinking about Red Zone. That's what I'm
As long as
thinking
it's not
about.
Chris Hansen.
yeah, as long as it's not
Very
Chris
true.
Hansen.
Very, very true.
That's fucking amazing.
But yeah, I've been hammering away MLB. It's been fun. If you want to know something about me, for those that don't know anything about me, I feel like as much as anyone else, I like quality over quantity. I'm so picky. It's
Yeah.
disgustingly picky, but I feel like it's better to only put out plays you absolutely love as opposed to just hammering out play after play just for the sake of having action. I really like to know what I put out. If it loses, it lost, and I still felt like it was the right pick at the end of the day.
Yeah, I'm with
So it's
you.
not a good idea to throw out like 20 soccer plays in one game.
I mean, if it's the best idea for fun, it's the worst idea if you're like a fan of money, probably long term. But for fun, that sounds ecstatic. Like that sounds like I want a friend who does that.
Yeah,
I want to know that guy. I just
It,
want to be that guy.
I got you.
it,
Love that.
it just depends on the game, right? But I do
of
think that
course.
it's
Certainly.
like you always want to be capitalizing on your volume and capitalizing on your plays. That way, it's like, look, we get that not everybody can tail every play in the world, and like sometimes you're gonna miss something just based on either the time it comes out or maybe just availability. Maybe you're limited on a particular book, but I think that's the value of just having the opportunity to try to get in on lines early, because like, look. Sometimes a line will be like minus 120 somewhere out, like at one place, and then minus 125 somewhere else. And, it's not the end of the world. Like if you can't get down on one spot, but you can get down somewhere else. just because you're not giving up maybe too much value, especially with some of the player props and stuff like that. But I wanted to give everybody a little bit of a rundown of what
Definitely.
we're trying to do during this podcast. Obviously, this is a Huddle exclusive live right now. So, look, if the lines move by the time this gets released, because it's going to get released on Wednesday morning, we're recording this Tuesday at about 9 o'clock, and it's live. So, lines can move. And that's part of the benefit of being in here. Like, we're going to try to do this every so often, just get the guys together. It's nice to, give everybody a little bit of screen time, give everybody a little bit of exposure. But look, if you're listening to it early, you're going to be able to get like literally what we're putting in, because you're going to hear us go through the lab. Like, we're in the lab together. We're talking about what we like, and we're building out some parlays. So we're going to talk about the Thursday night game, obviously the Chiefs versus the Ravens. We're going to talk about the Friday night game, the Packers versus the Eagles, and then we'll touch on a couple of these games during obviously the weekend for the Sunday slate. We have the most props, stuff like that right now for the Thursday night game. And I think this is going to be a blast of a game. Obviously, we have the Kansas City Chiefs against the Baltimore Ravens. It's a rematch. It is probably it's one of those games like where, as a fan, you're looking at this as the season's about to start and you're saying like, this is just a game that we absolutely need to watch. I'm super excited that this is the first game, but when you have a game like this, or like a game, or an event that you've been waiting so long for, I do feel like it gets a little bit difficult to try to like narrow down some of the possibilities, narrow down some of the things, because we don't have the same set of data from the season. Like, we're doing it a lot of like what we think, what our projections are, and what we think may or may not be important. So Matt, I wanted to ask you, like, when you're coming into a new season, how do you balance? Because it's hard, because it's like you want to look at what happened last year, and you want to use some of that data, but like, how do you try to like adjust for some of these early season games where we don't have the same amount of data, we don't know like are these teams going to be exactly the same? What's some of your tips, or like what are you looking for in a game like this where you don't want to blow your whole bankroll in one game?
Yeah, no, I think picking your spots is always important, but picking your spots, especially like in new schemes you think are going to happen. Like, for example, this isn't for Thursday's game, but I already played DeAndre Swift receiving yards. Last year's data would say that's probably a horrible play, but I'm thinking he's in a new system. He's in, new coaching, new team. They want to use him how he was before. And a couple years ago, when he was in that role, this number would be in the 20s, not 11.5. So I'm kind of banking on that being the new norm, and the books will adjust after we take the first punch. I'm a big believer in that. Smart bettors can take the first punch. The books can then adjust, make their line sharper, and the books kind of take their punch. We can kind of punch again. You don't want to go crazy betting on every game, but I do believe there are edges to be found that the books, they can't really quantify what the line should be until there is enough data this year, especially with new coordinators and new teammates and new rules, etc. And you find that all the time. So nothing stands for Thursday's game. I do have more schemes and other stuff for other games, but as far as Thursday goes, I'm a big Thursday in general game of, and this kind of as last year too. I'm a big kicker guy. What does everyone do in the off season? They wait till kicker props come back, and that's exactly what we did. And last year, the Chiefs played on a Thursday night against the Lions, and I'm not gonna lie, I was on Bucker extra points. The Lions defense was who they said they were, and they stopped them. But he did hit 2 field goals. And looking back on Thursday games, whether that's a short week or whatever, it is the first game of the season. I am a little more, a couple offensive tempos may not be there, a couple miscommunication. They don't understand each other yet, especially with some new pieces. And we know the Chiefs wide receiver core is a couple new guys. And the Ravens have a couple guys as well that they want to use differently. Derrick Henry in the backfield, and they want to use, I know, Bateman a little bit differently too. So a lot of guys will be doing stuff differently. And, the preseason, they barely play as it is. So could be some miscues. And I'm on the kicker props, baby. I might play both kicker props. I'm for sure playing Harrison Butker, though. That might be a tough name to talk about these days from his off-field stuff. But one thing he's going to do is he's going to do his job. As a man, he's going to do his job.
That's the one thing he's got to do.
He's got to do. He believes it. We believe it. And I think the Ravens, both defenses are really good. there's a high total. I do lean the under here, but I think Butker over 1.5 field goals I'm most likely playing, and that's kind of how I see the first first week starting. That's where I'm going to be putting my money.
All right. So,
Matt,
guys,
Matt,
we're going
I
to be
got news
making
for you.
Go ahead,
Matt,
Penguin.
I got news for you. There's a big sport out there where all they do is kick. You'd love
Don't
it.
count.
You'd love this new sport.
No, but I don't like when everyone kicks. I like when just one guy kicks. I want to pick one guy. His job, do or die for your family. I'm just kidding.
Single kicker. But we'll
Yeah.
I don't know what just happened with Penguin, but he'll have to get back in here.
He didn't like my comment.
No, he hated it. He was like, I'm protesting the Butker commentary. But guys, anyway, what we are doing is we are going to build a same game parlay here. So the first leg of the parlay, Matt, I think what you want it to be is Harrison Butker kicking points. Is that what you were looking for? 7.5
field goals.
Field goals. Okay. So that's
field goals over 1.5, baby.
All right, we're gonna be using DraftKings for the sake of like ease. I feel like they generally have had like some of the better promos in terms of like risk-free stuff like that. But feel free to try to build this wherever you can. Use whatever promos are available to you. Week 1 of the NFL has some of the best promos, like period. Just take the free money, see what you can do. It's really just a great opportunity. I'm not sure how Penguins audio is right now, but I'm going to turn to That Guy Bets for the second leg of this parlay. What are you looking at in this game? Again, the total is over 46.5. It actually has gotten bet down from the open of 47. And there's a spread of +3 for the Ravens. And that's kind of sat at the same number since the open.
All right, so I'm going to disappoint the boys here. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't think this is going to be a game that's going to feature a lot of points. So, I mean, I'll get into the leg that I'll attach, but just on a side note, I really do I put out a play of neither team to score 30 points, which is, I know it's a very niche market, but if you look back to last year, Kansas City didn't allow a single team to score 30. Ravens only allowed it twice, and it was both mid-season when teams are really in form. I mean, I know this game features Mahomes, Lamar, Henry, Andrews, like it's big names everywhere you look. It's these amazing players, but if you look at the stats, I mean, I really feel like this ends kind of a 27-24, if even 24-21. I mean, when these teams played in the playoffs last year, I think it was 17-10. Not saying that'll happen again, but I mean, I think these defenses are both stacked. As for the leg to add to the same game parlay, I do think Pacheco is going to have a nice day. I think he was pretty consistent getting 50 last year. I don't know how much that'll really help the odds. I'm not on too many overs in this game, so that might not, be the juiciest, most beautiful. I'm not going to make anyone generational wealth with that leg, but there's slim pickings in my opinion. I think it's going to be one of those games where we're all excited, we're all jacked, and it's halftime, and it's like, why is it 10-7? What's going on? Like, it's the Super Bowl MVP and the regular season MVP. There should be 1 million points, but I'm not so confident there will be. So
no,
I know that's a buzzkill. That's a little leg, but that's what I got for y'all today. I'm sorry.
I think that's super valid, though. I totally understand the cap. And, I think that people, they inflate some of these totals early in the season because they know that people, want to bet on these. Like, they want to bet on overs. The overs are public generally. Like, people want to bet on that. So I can totally understand why you're saying, I feel like this is a little bit inflated. Penguin, we got you back. What are we looking at for you from your end?
Yeah, I mean, not to mention, it's a lot of one-way markets just for the overs, and they do that thing on purpose. So they just want you to hammer the overs and hope for the best. No, I actually agree with That Guy Bets a bit. I don't think it's going to be super high scoring. I think, obviously, the Ravens defense is very good, and so is the Chiefs. And yeah, I think it's going to be a big, kind of play it pretty conservative. People figure out their new personnel, figure out their routes, all that fun stuff. One scheme that I am kind of looking for from the Ravens is I think Derrick Henry has a huge impact in terms of how much Lamar Jackson is going to rush because they do a ton of play action. They do a ton of, fake the handoff. Lamar goes the other way and just has a ton of open space. And I think defenses are going to bite more with Derrick Henry than they would with Gus Edwards or other people. So I do like a little builder piece, just Lamar to get 25 rushing.
That's nice.
So,
I mean, I feel like that's just absolutely a thing that he's going to hit. Like he's always just running, like you said. And with Derrick Henry there, it's easier to maybe try to slip out a little bit and get a little bit of a better opportunity there if they're trying to pack the box to defend against Henry.
He's also, I think, hit it every single game last year except for one. So
seems pretty. He definitely hit it. He definitely hit it in that game in the playoffs last year. I think he had 50 or 60 probably, if I had to guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I did see a DraftKings promo for Mahomes and Lamar to combine for 50 plus rushing yards. So I mean, that seemed like a great bet. It was like minus 123 or so normally, or minus 235 rather, and instead it's plus 100 right now on DraftKings. So that's a nice little boost you can add there to try to up your bankroll. I've been waffling on a couple different things for this game. I do like Travis Kelce over 5.5 receptions. He's gone over that he went over that in both games against Baltimore over the past couple of years. He had 11 last year in the January game, and he hit that at 63% of his games in over the course of last season. If you dropped it down to 5, he's at 79%. I think the 5.5 is still fine. I know that Kansas City has kind of bolstered the receiving core a little bit, but I do still like the over 5.5. One play that I am really interested in, and I'm kind of curious about, though, is I'm looking at the Ravens in the first half. The when you look at this, Lamar Jackson's 51, 30, and 2 in the first half against the spread in his career. He's the best quarterback in the first half against the spread in the last 20 years. So I do think that the Ravens in the first half could be the play here. He's even better generally at the beginning of the season. 13, 6-1 against the spread in the first half in the first 4 games of the season. I think a lot of that has to do with the coaching. Not that Andy Reid is a bad coach, but I do think that the Ravens, they treat the preseason pretty seriously, and I think that it's something that actually carries over to the regular season. And I think that having that coaching, having that scheme, especially with him as a dog, I like the opportunity here for Lamar and the Ravens in the first half. So you can get that at plus 1.5. I like the idea of not having to worry about a tie, especially in a game that could be a little bit lower scoring. So I'll grab the plus 1.5 here with the Ravens in the first half. So if we're building this all out together, we got to see what these odds actually come out to be. So we had everybody go over your bets again. We had Butker over what?
Field goals.
Okay. Then we had that guy bets. What did you actually give out?
Pacheco, 50 rush yards.
Pacheco, 50 plus rush yards. Penguin, what did you give?
Lamar, 25 plus rushing.
Okay. And then I gave the Ravens in the first half.
Also, to talk about your Ravens bet, from in November last year, I remember Harbaugh having a insane primetime record. He's 37-17 of November last year, and Lamar was 14-4. I don't know if they had 1 or 2 after that, but that was in primetime games.
Oh, I see the issue. We can't, Matt, your Butker play, they won't let us parlay. They're scared.
They're canceling him now. Even DraftKings canceling Butker. That's crazy.
This is part of a long history of anti-kicking discrimination in the NFL.
Sad to see.
If I have to pivot, I'm gonna have to pivot. I may hop on the Kelce stupid bandwagon just because it's there, but I also do like Mahomes rushing yards. But I think we were texting about it the other day. I like his longest rush over his rushing yards, but I don't think you could parlay that either. So
yeah, I don't think that's one of the ones you can. Yeah, they don't let you.
It's probably gonna have to be just a Kelce. I do think Kelce's going to be there. The wide receiver room does change. Rice is still there, but there is a couple moving parts.
He had a big game against them in the playoffs last year. I think he had 10 catches.
We're a plus 224.
So I got to have some nothing.
Honestly, that was going to be the next even odds play.
Yeah, I was going to say, honestly, a lot of it's because like the Lamar 25 plus is minus 1,000. So unless you want to jump,
really?
Unless you want to jump to like
40 plus, what do we get?
If you go to
I think you should also put in what's the lowest receptions for Mark Andrews?
Lowest receptions. I don't think I see an alt. I don't see an alt reception, so it's just 4.5 at plus 100. Because right now, adding those four: Pacheco 50, Kelce 50, Ravens 1.5 in the first half, Lamar 25 plus is plus 410. So that's still not even bad.
It's not bad.
That's over usually what like the promos are too. Like
yeah, like I think it's really just
$3.
as long as it's probably just as long as like the minimum odds thing. That's probably like the biggest hurdle. But like 1,000, I think sometimes they let you go with. But if you had to bump to say 40 plus for Lamar, it jumps to plus 525. So that's not too bad either.
I don't love it. I think that
it's a little like
just
it's a little
makes
bit more scary. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't love it there, to be honest.
All right. So
Especially with the unknown with Henry.
For sure. But I mean, look, Pacheco 50, Lamar 25, Kelsey 50, Ravens plus 1.5. You get plus 410, which isn't too bad for a little same game parlay here.
I agree. And I'm going to put out a bigger moonshot the closer we get as more props are available to SGP, because you should be able to do the field goals. They probably just didn't put it in their system yet in SGPs. So
yeah.
I'm finding a way to make that.
Yeah. You might be able to use it a little bit later. Just save that one for later. Now who do you guys think wins?
On a less serious note, sorry.
No, so just who do you think wins this game?
I don't
Arrowhead.
think the Chiefs are going to lose back-to-back openers back-to-back years. I think Chiefs squeak one out.
I think the Chiefs are a second half of the year team. I feel like for the past years we've seen, even when they won it the first year of this, potential three-peat, people were done with them by week 10 again. They just won every game, and then they were like, why did we ever not think they were going to win? I feel like that happens every single year. I'm not saying I think this is the best possible game we can get. Like if I was to name 4 or 5 of the Super Bowl teams, these two teams might be 1 and 2, and maybe 1 and 3 or whatever you want to do with the Niners, or maybe in the mix, and you have like the Lions. I only said that because of that guy, but you have like the Lions and some other teams. But I feel like this is the best that we can get, and it's just I feel like you may have some good live betting action here. But if I had to bet, what's the spread right now? Is it 3 or is it 3.5? I feel like if it goes to 3.5,
I'm seeing flat 3.
Get 3.5. I might take the field goal.
Yeah, like the plus 3.5. Yeah. I
feel like that's where I would go. But
like the Ravens have been stewing about this game, like just absolutely stewing about this game. So it's definitely a spot to watch. Now I want to transition to another bird over here. Like birds of a feather, obviously flock together, and we've got the Friday night game. Annoying that it's only on Peacock. Another fucking bird. But look, it's annoying that it's only on Peacock, but we've got the Packers versus the Eagles. Producer Corey, I got to get you in on this one. Are people going to get mugged? Like, what's going on with this game? The crime rate seems insane. The players are telling their families, don't come down here. How much do you think we need to incorporate that into our cap?
They have the home field advantage.
Who? The Eagles?
Would you go to that game?
No.
There you go.
Fair enough.
It's
especially not
all birds. It's nothing but birds in the stadium.
Yeah, especially in this jersey, right? So this game is in Sao Paulo, Brazil. It's a pretty tight spread right now. We are looking at what are we looking at here? We've got the Eagles are favored by 2.5. This game opened at Eagles minus 1.5, and we're seeing the line kind of trend towards the Eagles. I'm curious to see if we'll get a -3 here. It's going to be a little bit tenuous. I have a feeling that people want to back the Eagles, obviously, but I'm curious to see if there's going to be more resistance if we do get a 3, how quickly that comes back on the Packers, which I think is probably likely. And I think that's why we're seeing a little bit of resistance here on this game for it to move to the +3. Especially when we look at this, I think there's been some sharp action on the Packers so far. I'm not really seeing a ton of bets on the Eagles. But when you're looking at this game, obviously the Eagles made big waves in the free agent market, and they take Saquon Barkley from the Giants. What do you think his impact is from like a betting perspective? How does he impact the tush push? What do you guys think about this? Any of you guys that have thoughts? I'm just curious to know, like, they have to use him better than the Giants did, but that's probably in part because the Giants just haven't been very good.
Yeah.
I mean, offensive line helps, but also no Jason Kelsey.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that affects the tush push, by the way. I don't know if he'll be just as effective. But
if Eagles fans can say our quarterback squats 400 pounds and then just stop the tush push once Jason Kelsey leaves, and that whole statement is
Fair
just
enough.
the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I still think that they're gonna do it, but I know Jalen Hurts has like some leg thing going on that they're really not talking about. So I'd assume they bring it down to a degree because like every drive it was like 4th and 1. They're like, we're doing it, and like you can't, something bad's gonna happen eventually. So I'm assuming they're going to be a little more conservative of when they use it. Like maybe just has to reach like a critical score of the game. Maybe like a critical. I don't think they're going to do it if they're up a score and a half, late in the game or whatever it may be. I think that's why they brought Saquon, because I mean, obviously if they could get him, they're going to add him. And I think they realized when they absolutely collapsed last year that something offensively had to change. And I think with the way Saquon is in the passing game and his way to impact the game running the ball, I think they realized that was where they were lacking most, which makes sense. And they had the worst offensive collapse I've seen in a while. It was last, 4 weeks?
Yeah.
Whatever it was.
It was insane. They just completely fell off a cliff.
I think they got too reliant on the tush push, and I think they got pretty one-dimensional offensively. And this just opens up a lot more doors. So I do think it allows them to play. It makes the defenses play a little more honest. So when you have, Saquon in the passing game as well, I think they did learn from their mistake from last year too. So I think it just opens up for everyone a little more, allows Hurts to play a little more freer, if that's what you want to call it.
Yeah.
And I think they have a great, they have a lot of potential. It's just to see if they do it or not. But I think it is overall a huge addition. And I think it'll take teams a long time to kind of adjust.
Yeah. And that guy bets. My question for you is when you're looking at this from especially from a player prop perspective, right? Or like a team total type of thing, right? Obviously the offense obviously you lose Kelsey, but in theory, the offense should be elevated. You added a premier talent in Saquon Barkley. But like when you're betting on player props, especially, do you feel like the inclusion of Barkley can kind of mess with betting a lot of these overs for some of these guys because it's going to be a little bit more variable when you have so many options?
No, I think there's going to be a lot of mouths to feed in this offense. I mean, if you look at receivers, I mean, they're going to have to respect the pass game and the run game. Saquon with the Giants was his best receiver ever had was Odell, and outside of Odell, I mean, teams were stacking the box against the Giants. Now that he's in this Eagles offense with Devontae as a wide receiver 2, as with AJ Brown. I mean, Devontae Smith's the wide receiver 2 on this team. He's probably the 3rd best receiver Saquon's ever played with.
Yeah.
Teams aren't going to be able to stack the box. I think Saquon's going to be as efficient as ever. But as for, you might see some frustrations from people wanting to take AJ Brown overs or Devontae overs, even Saquon. There's going to be different games with matchups. Certain teams are better at stopping the run. Certain teams are better at stopping the pass. But it's going to be tough to make when you have stars everywhere on offense, there's only one ball. Yeah. But I think from a football perspective, the Eagles are going to be scoring a lot of points. But from a betting perspective, it might be frustrating on a week-to-week basis to know who's the hot hand and who's going to get the ball. But that's kind of our job to figure out. That's why we do what we do. So
exactly.
I'm excited, I think they're going to be great.
We've got a comment here from Paul saying that the Eagles talked about using a lot more motion this year too. And I think that makes the offense a lot more complex. It makes it a little bit easier for maybe guys to get a little bit of a running start. We saw it with Miami last year where Miami, it was like one of the hallmarks of their offense was that like these guys are like running fucking full speed, like as the ball is getting snapped, like they're running up to the line of scrimmage. So that can really change the dynamics of the offense. And instead of maybe like one of the concerns I feel like when you watch the Eagles was it felt like the whole offense was done within the box. And it was like, everything is going to be here. But if you're able to stretch it out a little bit more, maybe it does make things a little bit more interesting, especially if you can go both horizontally and vertically. I think it's definitely going to be a little bit more interesting. Penguin, what are you thinking about in this game? Is there anything that you like, or is there anything that maybe you're looking for, or that you want to see? Maybe it's not even something that you want to bet, but it's something that in week 1, you're saying like, I know I'm going to watch this game. It's on Friday night. It's in your hemisphere. It's in the Southern hemisphere. So you're basically a local. What do you think? Is there anything that you're looking for to see in this game?
Yeah. So 2 weeks ago, I was in Brazil. I was in Rio de Janeiro, and it wasn't that bad. Like, it really wasn't. Like, you feel completely safe.
You're a Penguin, man. Like, it's totally different.
No, I think the news is just blowing this out of proportion, to be honest. And they said Sao Paulo was even nicer than Rio. So
They also
Yeah, you can't trust
Think about
everything that the
Iceland.
big state
Nobody
says.
said that.
Vikings did. Read a book. All right, continue. Sorry.
The Vikings books. Yeah.
Anyway, I do think DeAndre Swift had a ton of success as an Eagle last year, especially early on in the season. And I think same thing for Saquon's going to happen. I think he's going to do really well, especially if what Matt's saying is true. Jalen Hurts does have an injury, because they could just pound the ball down the gut every time. They could, run the ball every time with Saquon. He'll make plays. He'll make things happen. He did it with the Giants offense that didn't have a quarterback for some games, and he still found ways to, get yards. So I can't imagine with a real offensive line. I think Saquon's going to be the big player to watch on Friday.
I don't.
One of the things
that makes me so sad. How the fuck do you love that? Shut the fuck up. Look at what you're wearing.
Hey, man. Look, all I care about is
I
making
gotta keep
coin.
you honest.
That's all I care about is making some coin. And the way that I have this right now, I have Barkley projected at 22.7 7 receiving yards, and I have him at 3.115 receptions. Right now, if we're looking at his lines here, we are looking at 2.5 for receptions. And I'm going to have a pretty big edge on this. I know I'm going to want this bet. So I'm going to be looking at Barkley over 2.5 receptions. That's the line we're getting. You can get like minus 103 on some books out there. That's probably going to be my best bet for this game. I think they're going to be able to use him. I think that a lot of what you guys have all kind of hinted at without Kelsey, you got to be a little bit nervous about how exactly that offensive line is going to hold up, especially right up the gut. So maybe things change for them. I know that they've been grooming a guy to be the center, but at the same time, I think that Barkley's just so good if he can get in open space, and giving him the ability, giving him the ball. 2.5 receptions to me seems easy in a better offense. The Giants were always fucking losing, but he still went over this. He went over this line in 71% of games last year. I don't know if you can really transfer it, but I do think that one of the things that, you guys had mentioned was he's efficient. Like, if the ball's thrown to him and it's catchable, he's catching it. So I'm not super concerned there. And I've got him at about 5 targets. So I like the over 2.5 receptions at minus 110 out there.
Nice. What do you think about the rushing receiving? I don't want
to touch the rush. I honestly don't want to touch the actual efficiency, if that makes sense, because I don't know I don't know what the conditions of the field are going to be. I don't know what the conditions of the players are going to be, but I do know that, if the ball's thrown to him, he's going to catch the ball. So at 2.5, I feel like I like the opportunity there. I've got him at about 20 receiving yards or so, like I said. So I do think that there's going to be some opportunity, but I just prefer to go over 2.5 receptions for Barkley in this game. If you want something to sweat out, and at least if you're a sad Giants fan like me, you can try to make some of your money back on the Barkley jerseys that you've inevitably bought in the past.
That's gotta be weird, man. That's like betting on your ex's new relationship to work out. It's man, no one wants that.
Why I bought a Graham Gano jersey.
Kicker props.
Smart man.
That's the only football jersey I own is a Justin Tucker jersey. It's about to be I'm not even lying. It's about to be a Harrison Butker jersey after Thursday. But the one play I do like for Packers Eagles, which again is kind of the international games I really don't like to touch, but I'm probably gonna bet something in that game. And this is probably gonna be a pretty popular bet. And it's kind of one of those weird ones where a lot of people don't like this market, but I love it, and that's the longest reception prop.
I love that market.
And for me,
it's good. It's a good market.
What'd you say?
I love that market. It's electric.
It's so good.
Christian Watson, as we know, if he's healthy and if he figured out that hamstring issue and he's good to go, whatever, which it looks like he is, his longest reception is 18.5, and he averaged 14.7 yards per catch last year. And his receiving yards, I think his receptions are at 3.5 plus money. I think he's going to get 3 catches. And he's just a deep ball threat. I guess they sometimes try to switch it up a little bit. Maybe he catches a slant or something different. But most of his job is to just be a distraction or be a deep ball threat. And his receiving yards line is like 36, 37 and a half, if I can remember. But there's times last year where he had 2 catches for 25 yards against the Lions, and he had a 24-yard catch. 27 yards versus the Broncos, he had a 23-yard catch. So a lot of times he goes under his receiving yards and over his longest reception. I don't know if you could parlay that. That'd be kind of cool to like do like an SGP of like the longest reception over and total yards under. They probably don't allow you to do that with.
I bet you Bet 365 lets you do it.
Probably. But one thing I do think this Packers offense is really good. They have so many weapons. So I am a little worried that, they're going to share the wealth. And Jordan Love was outstanding down the stretch last year. But this Eagles secondary was honestly horrendous. I mean, they allowed so many deep balls in the secondary. I think Bradbury's out. I think he got like 6 to 8 weeks or something like that. But I went down, I looked at every game last year, and the Eagles had 2 wide receivers have basically a over 18.5-yard longest catch. And I think it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a row. The one miss was Wilson was the only guy who got it for the Jets, but he was really the only receiver. And I think it was not Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball because it was week 6. 5-1, 6-1, 7-1, 8-1, 8 of 9. The Chiefs somehow missed, but I think it's like 13-4 on the season for them having 2 guys go over the longest reception. And I know it's a different year, but he's such a deep ball threat that I feel like it is just one catch. It's stupid saying for this prop, but like this is going to happen in one catch, literally. And I think for rooting for the whole game for just a long reception is always a fun sweat. So I may just do it for the fun factor alone.
Love that. Penguin, you got anything else you like in this game, or do you want to pivot to, or I think that guy bets I got it from you, but is there anything else that you guys like in this game, or do we want to pivot to the Sunday slate?
Good to pivot.
All right. So the Sunday slate is obviously loaded. I feel like it's always the most fun, like, because I feel like this is where you get the red zone, where it's just like, oh my God, this is insane. Like, there's so many games, there's so many things going on, so many games happening at the same time. There are a number of games that I think are obviously really interesting, like the Bears rookie quarterback. They opened as a 4.5 point favorite. They've the Titans kind of took some action at plus 4.5. I think that game's really interesting. We obviously have the Bills back in action. CJ Stroud looking to kind of build on that last year where the Titans really kind of surprised everybody. The Cowboys have flipped into a dog actually so far in this game against the Browns, so I think that's pretty interesting. And obviously we have the Monday night game too with the Jets and the 49ers. Aaron Rodgers hopes to play more than like 3 seconds of a game. What game kind of popped off the page to you guys? That guy bets, I'll start with you. What game kind of started and popped off the page to you that you were like, I'm interested in this game, I want to see X, Y, and Z, maybe I'm going to bet something, but maybe there's something that I want to learn and be able to make actionable moving forward?
And I might be cheating with this. I'm not sure if Sunday football counts as the Sunday slate because it's not really in that red zone hour, but I could have an opportunity here to talk about Stafford against the Lions rematch, and Goff against the Rams rematch. Whenever these two teams face off, it's just, as a Lions fan, every game's exciting to me, but specifically that matchup with all of the years that Stafford gave us and Goff went to the Super Bowl with the Rams. I mean, I think there's such a narrative here. The Rams are definitely pissed off that the Lions took them out of the playoffs. But now with the stakes not really as high, it's a regular season game, not a playoff game. How's Stafford going to react in a back and forth field? Kind of with the it's the first game of the season. There's going to be the nerves, but he's a veteran. He'll be able to handle that.
Yeah.
Personally, I took in that game, shout out to Matty, I took Jake Bates, the Lions kicker, extra points. He did miss one in the preseason. I think that's kind of an anomaly. But I think Lions scored.
He got it out early for you.
He got it out of the way like a gentleman, which I love. Who doesn't love that? But Lions are going to score 3 touchdowns. That's a game I think is just going to be a shootout across the way. There's not really much coaching changes. It's McVay and Campbell. Lions retained their coordinators. I think last year's data actually is taken into account with that matchup as opposed to some other teams, because other teams, there's new schemes.
Yeah.
I think this is a game where you can kind of see how last year's game played out. And if anything, it's the overs I like more here because fresh legs as opposed to the playoffs where guys are battered and bruised. I really like that Jake Bates to score 3 extra points. And I think that's a great Sunday night game. I mean, there's narratives everywhere you look. And I know I'm a homer here, just finding a reason to talk about the Lions, but
No,
I'm
even if I
pissed
wasn't
off.
a Lions fan, that's an outstanding game.
Why
and
would we
I'm
add
pumped for
the
that.
only guy who does kicker props to our team? Like he just
It's literally us. It's only
I
us.
gotta compete with this guy.
No, we're a team. We're not competing.
I know.
We're a duo, baby.
I'm
better way to put
probably
it-
adding that to my card, and he sent us that
Really?
message in the chat, and I was like, no, I love that you're on it too. Me and
sorry.
Penguin do that all the time. We've done it in the past where we just been on the same prop. It is what it is because we're both gonna have it on our card.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, usually I'm like the only guy who does it. But now I love that you do though because we both agree it makes me feel better. So
yeah,
We've been doing that prior to the huddle, working together. We've been having overlap where I've just been DMing you like, dude, fuck, like get off the play. I'm on it. Stop. Like that's mine.
No, it's good.
No, it's great. No, and I think it's such a sharp market because so many times with those extra points, it'll be a whole touchdown less than the team prop.
It is.
You'll see a team
It
prop that's
literally is
3.5.
right now. That's what I was gonna
You'll
say.
see a team prop that's 3.5, and the extra point's 2.5, and it's like something's wrong here.
Yeah.
I know there'll
And
be juice on different
it's
sides.
like we
but
actually have a miss. Like we could afford a miss or go for 2, and we're still like technically somewhat on pace. Like they're projected to score 4. So.
And I
for
think
sure.
the thing
I
with
agree.
the thing with the Lions too is like Campbell's so fucking aggressive. Like like regardless of going for 2, but like it's almost like you're getting an extra opportunity there because he's always trying to get the touch. He wants to be in the end zone. Like he's like we're not going to settle for field goals. It's a great way to look at that. So that game
Definitely.
we have the Lions are 3.5 point favorites. I don't see any 3s in the market still, and the total has moved to 50. It's actually at 51 right now. Over under 51. It opened at 52.5, but I think that just might have been a little bit higher. And obviously, you have some key numbers now. Since you are the Lions expert, I do have a question specifically about the running back room. What do we expect? Like, what should we expect from the combination of Montgomery and Gibbs looking at this season? I have a big fantasy draft coming up. I might be drafting Jameer Gibbs. I haven't looked at my board. We started a slow draft. Producer Corey is right here. But I don't know. He might be on my board. Should he be on my board, or do I have to be really worried about Montgomery vulturing all these touchdowns?
I think Gibbs, by far, has the highest upside almost of any player. Outside of Monroe St. Brown in the Lions offense. I think he's electric. There's a reason he went right there next to Bijan, and Bijan's an incredible talent. And the Lions are really patient with Gibbs. You saw it his rookie year. People were really frustrated with how much Montgomery's being used. And you just took a high pick on Gibbs. Why are you being... They just want him to be healthy. They want him around for the games that matter. So if you draft him in fantasy, you might be a little bit frustrated to start off again because he's been dealing with issues in preseason. You really want to make sure he's healthy because this is a team that has high expectations. They want to go deep in the playoffs and they want him as healthy as he could be for another run because now that the team has a target on their back. So we might see a little bit more Montgomery, but Gibbs will definitely be inserted there, especially in a close competitive game with all these narratives Sunday Night Football. We're going to see him out there. But it might be more of a timeshare than people want to take on because people just want to hand the keys to the offense to Gibbs. But Montgomery's no slouch. There's a lot of teams he'd be running back 1 on. And that's not just me glazing my team. I legitimately mean that. I think Montgomery's outstanding. I think he's a great talent. I think this brings me back to when the Saints had their 2-headed beast at running back with Kamara. And it's just, it's my team. I'm going to love them. But even if I wasn't a Lions fan, this is a tandem that is fire and lightning. They're going to be great. So expectations are sky high.
That absolutely makes sense. All right, Penguin, what game on this slate are you looking at that you're saying I'm interested in? I want to either watch something, see somebody play, or there's an angle that you like.
Yeah, I definitely was going with the same game, to be completely honest with you. But my second favorite is probably, it's super random, but the Jags and the Dolphins.
Okay.
I think it's going to be pretty high scoring. I think I watched Jacksonville play the London game versus the Bills, and I just really liked how high scoring this offense could be from Jacksonville, and Miami at home, like guaranteed points. Definitely interested to see how much. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I think it's Achani.
Isn't it
A-Chain?
A-Chain.
Yeah.
I'm very interested to see how much usage he gets compared to Mostert because, when he touches the ball, anything could happen. But yeah, I just think it's a very exciting game. I'm very interested to see how that one plays out.
Yeah, I think that game's gonna be a blast. I'm curious, like when you're like if there's right now, obviously you're betting into a certain level of uncertainty. Like if you bet on this game, especially in the running back room, in particular, right? So like
Hmm.
if you looked at the running back room and in this game, if you looked at the rushing and receiving yards combo, Mostert's at 52 and a half, A Chain's at 81 and a half.
Yeah.
And like, do you think that instead of maybe betting, like if you wanted to bet this, if you felt like you had to, instead of betting like what what the normal line is for, like if you said like I think A Chain's gonna have like a great game, I think that this is a good spot for him, but I'm still a little uncertain about what exactly we're gonna see here. Like I don't really know. Do you think that there's value if you wanted to bet A Chain, like because let's say his rush yards, for example, I think those are usually a little bit easier to find some alts on. His rushing yards are at 54 and a half. Considering the way like what we saw last year, like when he went over this line, like he went way over, like
Yeah, he smashed.
203, 151, like those massive numbers. Do you think there's a little bit of value instead of betting like if you normally bet a unit on a play, instead of betting one unit on the baseline, maybe just jumping all the way up to like 75, 100 and getting those big alt numbers and maybe having a little bit less exposure, but kind of trying to bet into like where you think like the upside is?
Yeah, so it's tricky, right? Like I think he had that success because Mostert, was the first string. He definitely got the harder runs, in my opinion. And then you bring in Achan, who's like twice as fast as him, and could just blast through a tired defense. I don't think he's gonna have that much of an edge as he did last year because he was kind of like a sneaky, backup running back. Not probably not like loading the box as much versus him.
Yeah.
Just not really knowing. Um, and it's interesting. Like he had what? I'm looking at his stats now. He had 400 plus games, but besides that, it's actually a big drop off.
Yeah.
He also had a 73-yard game, but then besides that, it's 40, 30, 20,
Yeah.
56. I think it's something I kind of just see how it plays out. And then, if I see that he's the same as he was like when he came in the second drive last year, maybe I'll live bet his rushing yards because I
Yeah.
think it's just going to be the same thing.
That's
Um,
valid. That
yeah.
definitely makes some sense. Just trying to like gauge it out. Like you don't need to bet it just because you feel like there might be an edge there. All right, Chucks, what are we looking at here?
Are you asking me like what game I want to watch, or if there's props that I'm eyeing?
Honestly, both.
That's fair. Okay, I'll give you one of each.
All right.
One game I want to watch is this Cardinals Bills game. I want to see one team that's very public trending down in the Bills, and one team that's publicly trending up in the Cardinals, and I just want to see what actually shows up. Are the Bills, actually trending down, or the Cardinals that much better? I believe both can be true, but I also think that the Bills are still very good, and I'm probably not going to jump off their regular season bandwagon until I see them kind of fall through. One of my neighbors over here, he's a huge Buffalo fan. He moved over there. I saw him the other day. He was going for a run, and we just stopped and chatted, and he's like literally so involved in the Bills, and he knows a couple guys that like work for there and some trainers, etc. And he was like, the vibes are a lot higher since Diggs left. The talent may have taken a little bit of a dip, but as far as like those non-skill positions, I feel like they're still very good. And the young wide receivers are almost innocent until proven guilty, or almost good till proven not good. So I feel like they could still be good. And then the Cardinals, I love the whole Trey McBride. He's been the tight end one is what everyone's been saying, or top three. And Kyler Murray is very good. So I'm excited for that matchup as a whole. But for the prop, I'm probably posting this tonight. I'm not gonna lie. Once this is over, I may send this to the huddle, so I'll say it now anyway. But the one game I also kind of want to watch too is the Falcons Steelers game. As horrible as this to say, I'm
You're
excited to
sick,
see the
man.
Kirk. I want to see the Kirk era. Mr. Cousins himself, and I love that weapons they got. He personally recruited was it Mooney, and he's got Bijan is in just a stud, and that's where my prop is going to be. So Bijan in the passing game. I'm a big running back receiving yards props. I usually stay in my lane with like some rush attempts, receiving yards, and kicker props and some other stuff. And Bijan last year when he got the ball, and again, I'm assuming Kirk barely. I don't think he didn't play a preseason snap as he recovers from his injury. There's so many weapons to spread the field. I think there's going to be some checkdowns, maybe some Steelers pass rush gets to him, whatever it may be. But he should be involved 100% of the time. And he's over. His receptions line is 3.5 at like -108 on FanDuel, but it's like -125, -140 on MGM. So other books have it almost juiced up. It was like +100. Now it's like -140. And when you look at his receptions at 3.5, his receiving yards is 26.5, but DK and Bet365 are still doing that 25 plus with like bad lines. Yep. So DraftKings has 25 plus at -135. Bet365 has it at -125. And when he has 3+ receptions, he's 10-1 to the over. The receiving yards, he averages like 8 yards per reception. And then I think when he's 8-0 with 4+ receptions. So if you have a juice receptions line at 3.5 and he gets 4 receptions, he's 8-0 last year to this line. And I just think that's a smash spot. If he doesn't get the ball fed to him at all, I'll eat that and I'll take that punch. But if he gets 3 receptions, I'm expecting to cash. If he gets 4, I'm not even going to look at the yards. That's kind of where my mind's at.
I think that's valid. Great play. Gonna lock it in now. I think I've talked enough about some of these games. I will ask producer Corey one question though about our New York Football Giants. How do you think that the news that Kay Adams has officially claimed that she is dating Daniel Jones because she made a comment that the offensive line needed to protect her boyfriend? How do you think that the Kay Adams relationship may or may not boost or be to the detriment of Danny Dimes?
I think it caused him to grow a beard, which makes him look slightly more like a quarterback at this point. He sucks. There's no fixing this.
Yeah, maybe I'll throw less picks.
Guy sucks.
It's horrible.
It's rough. It's rough.
To be fair, she's full of it, by the way.
Also true.
Because I'm not lying. I don't know if this is public information, but someone who works for Dub Club's family member has a sister that dates Daniel Jones, and that was as of a week ago. So
he is a football player now, Matty.
But he's
Professional
odd.
athletes don't have
He's
to have
odd.
one girl.
He's not Tyreek Hill, all right?
He
He's
could be.
Daniel
You don't know
Jones.
what he does in his spare time.
Do you think
I do?
You think this is a self-claimed boyfriend? Like a fake?
I think so. I think it's for clicks. I think she's full of it. I have a problem because I saw pictures of them in a log cabin like a week ago that they were showing me on their phone. And
what kind of pics?
He was in a sleeping bag in pajamas like 9:30 at night. So he just
see what I mean?
That's
not quarterback behavior. This guy sucks. Get him off the team.
0-17.
He's not that guy.
Who's the backup?
I'm not going to dogpile on Kay Adams.
Is it still Tyrod?
Yeah, no. Well,
I'm not doing it.
You guys heard it here first. You heard it here first. That guy bets it will not dogpile on Kay Adams.
I won't. She could run me over with her car. I would say thanks. That's just where I'm at mentally. I think she's the best. I'm not going to lie to you. She could do no wrong. All right?
I actually met her.
First to report it.
I met her in London.
I would fold like a lawn chair in her presence.
Yeah.
So thank God I did not meet her.
Oh my god!
For those at home, I'm very single right now, as you can tell.
Kay Adams, we got you.
I'm happy you put Travis Kelce in the play. That'll get the Swifties here. We'll get more female audience. So we got that going for us.
Just talk about Taylor Swift for a minute, and we'll get all the algos going.
Exactly. Ladies.
But guys, that's a great breakdown of the slate. I know that we will be firing off plays in the huddle, getting you guys the best lines. Obviously, week 1, I think especially the lines are a little bit softer. Like they've had the offseason to kind of prep them, but they obviously haven't made them public, whatever. These lines are going to move. And that's why it's so valuable to hop into the huddle, get the best lines, get the lines that we're betting, tune into these types of shows so you can kind of get exactly what we're talking about. But now it is time for Pods and Recs. But before that, producer Corey, how you doing?
I was better before you made me talk about Daniel Jones.
I'm sorry for doing that to you.
I hate it. I can't
Corey,
justify this shit.
No, it's been a really rough time. Like I wanted to talk about the Giants game, and I was like, I can't do it. It's too.
I'm
painful.
going.
You're going,
and I'm a little tortured about it. Like the weather's going to be great. It's going to be awful.
What are you going to drink?
Too much.
That's the right answer.
Good answer. Number 1. Bing.
So what do you got for us? Lead us off in pods and recs. Give everybody an explanation here, and give everybody a quick answer. Like, was your trip to Hawaii better than my trip to Hawaii? At least
100%. There were no natural disasters that occurred, so no one died
Maui
from a natural
fires.
disaster.
Yeah, Joe set the bar low.
Pretty good compared to yours.
Yeah.
We did have a tropical storm breeze by, so it was a little windy one day. That was tough for us.
Not bad. Yeah.
I was drinking my pina colada and got a little, ooh, is that a chill? And then I was fine.
You're so brave.
I know. Not all heroes wear capes. Some wear devil's hats.
So what else? What do you got for us in pods and recs?
I'm going to recommend you all make sure you get your oil changed.
I have to.
See? It's just a general. I noticed the sticker this morning, and I was like, ooh, got to get on that. So check your mileage, boys, and get your oils changed.
Not bad. All right. Penguin, we'll go to you. What do you got for us?
This is just like any kind of recommendation.
Literally anything. It could be literally anything. Anything you want to recommend.
Ignore the rumors of Kay Adams and Daniel Jones so you can sleep at night.
I
heard she was with TGB, actually. That's what I heard.
If we need a second, we'll go to TGB quickly instead. We'll pivot so you can think while he talks.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I definitely would recommend getting married. I've had my first home cooked meal in about 4 years.
Wow.
So that would be great.
You didn't get one until after? That's awesome.
You want this chicken cutlet? Put a ring on it.
The hamburger helper go. The go to French bread pizza. No way.
That is unbelievable. What did you have?
Nah, you know what I mean. Of course, you cooked before, but it's just nice, not having to worry about some of the cooking and stuff.
No, that's a good recommendation. I'm sure the government would agree.
And Harrison Butker.
I don't know how many Utah.
Harrison Butker, for damn sure. Fan of the show. Fan of the show.
Hey, we got to send this segment to him.
I don't need to get into any more weird internet circles. Please don't. I'm in deep enough. I can't handle anymore.
You can't do it. All right, that guy bets. What do you got for us?
I was originally going to touch upon bankroll management, but I would maybe talk for 9 years. So we'll keep it light. I'll say this, for those out there, we want to eat good on Sunday when we're watching those games. So next few days before it's game day, I know you're going to want to get a pizza. You're going to want to eat some chips, sweat out some bets, sweat out your own team stuff. Next few days before it's football time, let's get out there, get that cardio in. Let's lose some LBs and gain them right back on Sunday. How about that?
Love that.
I love it. Chucks, did you give yours? No, you didn't.
No, I did not. I've been patiently waiting my turn. I'm going to recommend going down the nostalgia lane, and I started playing my old GameCube, and I'm playing Super Mario Strikers, Super Mario Baseball, and just go there and just have a day. I mean, the world just did not exist for that hour and a half I was playing, and I've felt great ever since. So I'd say go back to whatever game you used to play and just be a kid again for a little bit. Clear the soul.
It's not bad at all. We love that.
I love that.
I am going to recommend, for those of you that haven't tuned into the pod before, I pretty much am always recommending food. So I got these last episode. I think I recommended yakisoba. This episode, I'm recommending a different Japanese noodle. I'm going to be recommending udon. So I've been a big fan, have been dabbling with it. Obviously, it's not, my Korean japchae, but japchae is pretty labor intensive. For those of you that don't know, you have to cook all these vegetables on their own. It's like a sweet potato noodle. It's a lot, but I got these udon noodles actually at Costco, and they're kind of like a really upscale ramen,
they're fire.
They're so Costco, Matt knows exactly what I'm talking about. They're unbelievable. It takes no work. There we go. This is not an ad. I'm not the Rizzler or whoever the fuck it is.
We're Costco guys. Once we eat the chicken bake, double chunk chocolate cookie.
Yeah, I'll kill those fuckers if I ever see them in person. By the way, I will hit them with my fucking car and spray.
One of them is a child.
Dude, the Rizzler's gonna be your quarterback next season.
I'm gonna spray their asses with Kirkland gasoline and light them for less money than it would cost somewhere else. And I'll get money back.
So I am going to recommend that. And
the noodles. Yes, the noodles.
The noodles. Recommend the noodles, to be clear.
Not fading
Definitely going
freaks
to
on
recommend the
site.
noodles. Definitely going to recommend a little bit of udon. And it's also like, you just got to like experiment a little bit, like expand your palate, try some different things. It doesn't have to be that complicated. And like you guys know, I'm expanding my palate in besides just the food scene. We're talking a little bit of NFL here on an NBA pod. We are really doing the best that we can. And it's been an awesome episode here to have all you guys in, Chucks, That Guy Betts, Penguin, and obviously producer Corey to have you back. It was a pleasure having you in here, and it's going to be an absolute hell of a season for the NFL. And appreciate you guys being in here, and let's continue to cash that.